Hey guys and girls, Board now back with you on this video. I will be talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 6. The episode is called Whistlespeak. Full spoilers from the start of this review, and just to say before I get going, if you like this video and you want to see more content from me and help the channel grow, then make sure you like and subscribe the video if you're a first time viewer, that is. So thanks for watching. In this episode, as they attempt to get to the next clue ahead of Moore and Locke, Michael and Tilly go down onto this planet, and it's in the Nebosphere. Michael has to go through David Cronenberg's character. He has to go through unofficial channels to get the paperwork to sign off on the mission, because it turns out this planet, or this tower which they're trying to get to, it was created by Cronenberg's character. So there's a clue inside the tower, but they have to get there first, and it's a weather tower. So a big thing that's happening in this episode is to do with the weather condition on these planets, about how the air is very volatile, about how at times the dust builds up and it doesn't leave much oxygen in the air, and this very sort of rundown community which Michael and Tilly go into, and they do help them, but they're helping them partly for their own purpose. And a big thing is the lack of rain on the planet, and how that's affecting things. And then you get a big thing towards the end to do with religion, where there's discussion of the lack of rain being caused by God or by a god. And you get into the whole thing where Michael eventually is trying to explain to them, when the stakes are raised, and it's more to do with this technology than it is to do with a god, because they start believing then because when she goes into this tower, she starts going into a sacred sort of chamber, which in theory just another human couldn't do. So that raises alarms. So a lot of this has the feeling of maybe an older Star Trek episode, them going down to this different kind of planet, different kind of culture, but also it has that kind of Lord of the Rings feel. It really leads into the fantasy of it and the kind of earthy sort of stuff, and a lot of wishy-washy type metaphors, and the characters on the planet talk a lot like Shakespearean type characters. It has that kind of vibe. There's a character who Tilly latches onto called Rava. I always think of the Seinfeld character when I think of Rava, but she is trying to impress her father at one point by trying to beat the odds and get to this tower which they've never been to before. And that's where the big set piece of the episode happens, as her and Tilly both get stuck in the tower and their lives are on the line, and Michael, along with the crew, has to help them out. So it's a really dull episode. It's really kind of, as I said, wishy-washy and preachy. It goes into areas which I don't think Star Trek really should go into, or if it is going into them, I think it should tread carefully and still feel like enough of a Trek episode, and not stray too far from the science fiction type genre. But yeah, once he got into the heart of the episode, I just thought it was really dull and annoying, and you had a lot of very slow, drawn-out monologues, and just this whole side to the episode which I really didn't care about, because I'm not a big fan of high fantasy or this kind of talk. I mean, if I was watching a Shakespeare production, that would be one thing, but this dialogue wasn't good, and scenes were really dragging in it, and once again it feels like a little bit of a dated premise because of this whole religious aspect. And or the belief that they were gods and they were causing this. And I think if it was done better, that would be one thing, but it stood out how dated it was because it didn't really feel like it was doing anything new with it. And I just found the characters and their interactions really cardboard in this. And yeah, the dialogue was really bad at times. The pacing was very sluggish. It started off not too bad because I at least appreciated that we got a bit more Tilly in this episode, and she's always been quite natural as like the comic relief, and it manages to be quite endearing in these situations. There's some pretty good physical like slapstick stuff with her, like at one point when they're running to try to get to this tower and they're running out of oxygen and she's like struggling away. She in the end gets there ahead of Michael, who then has to try and help her from the outside. But that stuff wasn't bad, just because I did quite enjoy Tilly in those scenes. They've also got like different costumes in this because they've been transported to this other like realm. Tilly's hair once again is like a standout, but just a lot of this stuff where it's sort of like Robin Hood or Robin Hood meets Lord of the Rings, I just didn't care about. Like, it just feels very old hat and was really boring to watch, and the episode was very slow. I didn't really care about the other characters on this planet. I didn't care about Rava, and you know, Michael and Tilly do have decent chemistry at this point. I've always quite enjoyed their like friendship on the show, so it's good that we got some extra stuff with them. At one point, Tilly mentions like one of her cadets at the academy, and I think that's just a bit of like, hey, don't forget Tilly is like a teacher now, even though she's been called out on this mission. But yeah, it was just really dull and not my kind of episode. I think my other problem with it was then it just felt again like we were going through the motions, things were taking too long, and that by the end of the episode we hadn't really achieved anything much. It just feels like this pattern this season of like they've got to go to another location and another planet sometimes to find another riddle. But then a lot of the episode it's just an excuse to chase a riddle. Like, it doesn't really feel that special from the previous episode. And if this is going to be most of the season, I just think it's getting quite repetitive and predictable, because Maul and Locke aren't in this episode. Like, at the end, when they finally get the clue off this planet, and you know, Michael has to talk the father down and convince him that she's not a god and that technology has caused this drought, which is quite a Star Trek thing to do. It's just I wasn't into the plot at all. But like, at the end, they finally find out that, oh, this is where they are, this is the clue, and they're ready to go. Booker's ready to go, but once again, we've seen that at the end of many episodes. Like, I don't know why we couldn't have had a bit of Maul and Locke in this episode. So it started not too bad, but then it sort of nosedived. And the other main plot is then who suspects, because at one point he's using the holodeck and he's like using like the vision of his mother, and she suggests that he might have Trill in him now as a result of his near-death experience. So this is a big episode for Who being very self-conscious and aware of what he might have become and his bloodline. So at one point he goes to Stannon's and he gets him to do like a brain scan, and it turns out it's all clear. It turns out there's nothing like that in him, and Stannon's is wondering why he's being so funny and why he really wanted the brain scan. But that, again, it was, although the subplot was fine and I didn't mind it, it was quite an interesting angle for Who to take. I do think once again it dragged on and it sort of came to nothing. So I think him having the brain scan in the end, it just took up screen time, which I think could have been used better when the results didn't come out to anything. And you just had Stannants again doing a little bit of a preachy sort of speech about to appreciate your brain, about how the human brain is a wonderful thing, blah blah blah, and just make the most of it. And yeah, just once again, too many speeches in this show, too many like monologues, and not a lot of advancing the plot or characters. So that's Star Trek Discovery. Whistlespeak, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can check out or support the channel for a little bit extra, just $1 a month at patreon.com/boardnow for some extra perks. And also I do regular streams. I do a weekly pilot TV stream, which is relevant here because at the moment I'm watching the pilot episodes of all the main Star Trek shows. So as I record this, I will be doing the Voyager pilot this coming Thursday, so look out for that. And I also do a weekly horror stream on a Friday normally, so look out for that as well. And I've just started back up my quiz season, so I do film TV quizzes quite regularly. So if you're interested in that stuff, then take a look. But thanks for listening. Keep watching TV. See you soon, guys.